Hello there in Facebook world, all y'all 10X people. This is Dr. Gregg May. I have been really super excited, looking forward to this this little deal with Chris and hearing all about CBD oil, and the things going on. He's got a lot of research stuff on this thing. I ain't got much clue what it is, but we're gonna find out here real quick. My co-host for this is Reid of Amplified Dynamics. She's
Hello.
here. She's got her questions for Chris too. The biggest thing that we're here today to do is to learn from wild and crazy guy, Dr. Chris Kammer, about all this CBD oil stuff that's hitting, all the media. And I keep hearing about this stuff and hearing about it. I had the opportunity to lecture with you, at the last Miles at Sea cruise. And of course I was preparing for my lecture, so I only caught a few minutes of that stuff. But, I wanted to learn more, and I'm like, let's just do a Facebook Live and get everybody going on Facebook Live, and that'll be a great forum to hear about it. So anyway, Chris, give us a little background, man. Tell me even how you started into this CBD oil stuff.
Great.
I know you are Mr. Oral Systemic Health and love a lot of this alternative stuff, but how'd you learn about this stuff, man?
Okay, well, that's a great question. So I would say that to start off, I, was kind of, actually I was in high school. I never touched pot. Okay. So it's kind of, this whole talk is about medical cannabis. So I was kind of a good guy. I had my share, living in Wisconsin, I had to have a few old Milwaukees, right? But I never touched pot. And I think it was just, didn't want to disappoint my parents. So, but I'm not, I'm not judgmental about that if anybody did or didn't, because all my friends did. So there, I was the guy that wouldn't do it. So just want you to get that perspective, because I think it's important when you're talking about this. There is such a stigma around cannabis and CBD. And I had to have a few old Milwaukees, right? Yeah. That was never touched pot. I think it was just, didn't want to disappoint my parents. So, but I'm not judgmental about that if anybody did or didn't. I'm sorry, I got a little confused there.
Yeah, you're watching your Facebook feed.
So just
you're gonna have a delay.
Maybe I should I'll just, you know what? There is such a stigma around cannabis and something here. What are we gonna do?
You got to turn your Facebook off now.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Okay, let's do that. Turn my Facebook off.
You can't double feed yourself, man.
Well, but I'm okay. Hang on. So I'm on.
Yep.
I'm on here.
I
just have Be Live up.
That's all you need up, dude.
Okay.
Yep, you're feeding just fine.
Something must be working. Okay, back to whatever I was talking about. Oh, how did I get started in all this? Yeah.
Yeah. So we know you're not a pothead.
Yeah. Well, okay. So and kind of. But I grew up in the era of, reefer madness and, so I guess I had a tainted view of people that use a somewhat tainted view. I mean, it just wasn't for me. So I had that bias. Fast forward to now, had a daughter that had a lot of medical challenges, a lot. I probably carried her in my arms, into the emergency room over 20 times.
Wow.
A lot of issues. We went from UW-Madison. She had some GI issues. UW-Madison to Milwaukee Children's Hospital. Finally ended up at the Mayo Clinic for 2 weeks. We weren't getting any help. Very frustrating as a parent. We finally ended up after much research, ended up at Emory Hospital in Atlanta. And right away, they assessed her for having an anxiety level of about a 10. They started her right out on a course of treatment or at least on the medicinal marijuana to try to see if they could bring her anxiety down. They brought it down to a 0.
Oh, wow.
And I became a believer overnight. When it's your daughter, when it's your child, when it's your world that's impacted, and that's the problem we have with the stigma of medical marijuana or CBD that comes from cannabis and all of that. You got to get over that. These are powerful medicinals that need to be explored. So that's step number one, where I got I in my own family, my daughter just what is a miraculous transformation that she found with the medicinal marijuana. Now, and they had to try like 40 different types. This isn't an exact science, and different bodies react differently.
And she was doing,
I would say, for the CBD oil as well.
Chris, so she was specifically using the medicinal marijuana when that came out, not just CBD oil, correct?
No, but it has CBD in it. So medicinal.
Right.
So we go to various formulations of medicinal marijuana, which some have higher levels of CBD and some have a little bit higher levels of THC, and they're looking for the right mix to affect that person. So
sure.
The cool thing about CBD is it has all the medicinal benefits of medical marijuana without the component that gets you high. So I'll just throw that out there right away. But so I started becoming a believer in medicinal marijuana. I never think, and then I learned about Charlotte Figi, who was the young girl, 5 years old, had 300 seizures. Let's see, she had 300 seizures every week. Try to imagine that. Now that's a parent's nightmare, because their poor child they had to rush her to the hospital so many times because during her seizures, sometimes she would stop breathing, and then she was at risk of brain damage. And it got to the point where they were taking her in so often to the ER that at the hospital they labeled her now NDR, which is, or no, DNR, do not resuscitate. It was that serious. So I can't even comprehend that as a parent, right? So everything that they tried for Charlotte, they went to a dispensary. A dispensary started putting together a formulation and said, hey, let us give it a try. And they used a medical marijuana. They finally came up with the formulation, which they call Charlotte's Web. Some people may have heard of that. Mm-hmm. Charlotte's Web is a very, very high level of CBD, very, very low level of THC. Anyway, they brought Charlotte's 300 seizures a week down to 2 to 3 seizures a month.
Wow.
That was a miracle. So when Sanjay Gupta of CNN got a hold of that information, he changed his stance on pot. He finally went on television and said, I was wrong. There is, medical marijuana, there's usefulness here. We need to explore it more, study it more. So there was that. So I became a believer. And then with my daughter's situation, I was open to trying CBD. Ordered myself a couple of brands off the internet, looked for the best, highest quality stuff. I'll tell you, it's a crapshoot out there because there's a bunch of different brands. There's no regulation that you really know what you're getting. But I figured tried to go with a reputable company, get a good quality CBD. Paid like over $100 for just a 1 month supply. Tried it, wasn't sure it really did anything for me. Kind of laid back on it for a while, then ended up giving it to a friend that had some ailments and say, maybe this will help you. Like, I don't have a lot of health issues, but so I wasn't. It's like taking that next new vitamin. Like, I don't know if that really did anything for me. I usually feel pretty good, but I believed in this CBD, and so I finally got wind of another company that made CBD that did it in a water-soluble formulation. Now the difference between CBD oil and a water-soluble CBD, which is the type that I use, is that the body's absorption is so different. CBD oil is available to the body about 6%. So you can get the best CBD oil on the market, but your body's bioavailability is only about 6%. So you're thinking like, well, most of that is just wasted. Whereas if you turn the CBD oil into a water-soluble form, the absorption goes up to 90% or more. So if you're going to be spending money on CBD oil and you want to get the best chance of having an impact on your health, you're going to want to go with a water-soluble form. So I was able to find a water-soluble.
Nice.
Started trying it. Wanted to give it a real trial. Still wasn't sure, like, what is this really going to help me for? For some odd reason, kind of forgot that I was getting 2 to 3 migraines a week. I mean, other than that, I felt
whoa. You kind of forgot that you were getting 2 or 3 migraines? Come on.
How did I forget that?
Yeah, right?
I mean, but out there in the world, I feel good. I eat right, I work out, I exercise, but you're right. See, and it wasn't always that way. I think that, I'm not as young as I once was. I think sometimes and dentistry, let's be honest, is a very stressful business, and people don't really understand it. But anyway, everybody has their own level of stress coming from somewhere. So, but I wasn't quite sure how this was going to help me. But I figured if I'm going to, as a spokesperson for Oral Systemic and American Academy for Oral Systemic Health, I like to walk the talk. Like if I'm going to be recommending this, I can read it. I can read a study. I can look at a study. But if I don't try it myself and have experience, what can I say? So I started taking a milliliter every day since the beginning of the year. Here's the most amazing thing. And once again, I was getting 2 to 3 migraine headaches a week. In fact, I was taking a lot of this stuff, and I pulled this out just for your benefit to see. I don't know if you can see this, but this is sumatriptan, or the generic name is Imitrex. I was keeping the pharmacy in regular business with this because not only would I get the tablets, I would get the nose spray. And I wouldn't travel without this stuff because my migraines were just devastating. The amazing thing about this stuff, it works. Thank God it works. Yeah. Because I would be crippled without this medication. But I started to get worried because I was taking it 2 to 3 times a week, and sometimes one dose wasn't enough. And this seemed to be spiraling in the wrong direction. Maybe it wasn't as effective. I didn't know. But anyway, here's the big point. After 6 weeks of being on the CBD, the water-soluble form, I stopped having migraine headaches. And I thought after the first week, I'm going, wow, this is probably not
placebo.
Yeah, maybe it's just a placebo thing, and who knows? Let's give it another week. Another week goes by. Nothing. Then I had to travel to New York City. I swear, every time I have to travel, I don't sleep the night before. I'm packing. I'm preparing my presentations. I'm a maniac. And by the time I arrive at my destination, or while I'm getting there, I get the most monstrous migraine headache. It's just, I guess that's just, I'm cut from that cloth, but it's, so, and I don't, so this New York trip, same thing. Oh, no sleep, preparing, packing, everything, racing to get the plane. Every time I would expect that I would get a migraine headache in that situation, I didn't. And I'm going like, what's going on here?
So Chris, back up for me a little bit. So, with your migraine stuff, you were only taking your Imitrex, as they came on. You weren't taking it every day.
I was not taking it every day. I was not taking any kind of, preventive medications or nutrition, anything like that to prevent migraines from happening. I was doing everything the same as I always did. Handful of vitamins, workout, doing all the things.
So when you found CBD oil and you started, wanting to walk the talk and incorporated it into your own stuff, you started using the CBD oil every day, like as a supplement.
Right. I'd use it. I would absolutely, because it impacts the endocannabinoid system, which is all right. So let's just establish I didn't have a migraine headache for 2 months. Now let's just also say this is not a miracle cure. Last week I had a migraine headache, but I've been over a week now. Since then, nothing. So I would normally get those 2 to 3. So in the last 3 months, I'm still riding pretty high on a hot streak with no migraines.
So obviously, go ahead, DD.
When you're taking the CBD oil, you said you are using the water-soluble form. How do you do that? Are you drinking it? Is it applied on the skin? Like, how do you dose that and know what the right formula is for you?
Got it. All right. So the good news about CBD. Well, I just do a milliliter a day, and I do it under my tongue, and I let it sit under my tongue for 2 minutes. Because it's water soluble and there's absorption, a very good vascular area under the tongue to absorb. I give it that absorption there at the tongue, and then I swallow it. So
kind of like a vitamin B12 supplement under the tongue.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And I usually would do that about a half an hour before bedtime. So because there's an amazing calming effect, which is one of the 5 points I wanted to make today. I'm going to leave everybody with 5 big pluses for CBD oil. And sleep is one of them because it'll calm you down at night. It will, because the number one, I'm all over the map here, but the number
Wait a minute. It would calm you down? I mean,
no, I don't believe that.
You, Chris?
That's probably a good example because
that's like, is that even possible?
If it's possible to calm me down, yes, at bedtime, that's a good time. And the CBD definitely relaxes me at nighttime. It's a good feeling. It's, calms me down. Yeah. And,
but there's no psychoactive. I mean, you ain't getting a little bit buzzed off of this stuff at all,
Greg,
right?
a great question. There is absolutely no THC in this formulation. This brand is called Ultracell, and there's zero THC. They got the studies to show it. But even in CBD oil, there is such a small amount of THC that it's almost doesn't matter, and it's still legal in 50 states. So it's pointless that it's so little. It's not going to get you high. So CBD oils.
So legally in all 50 states, you can purchase CBD oil, and you do not need a license for a medical marijuana license or a dispensary or anything of that nature, right?
It's got to be made from hemp. So anything made from marijuana, even that would be a different. There's a lot of confusion out there, but I will say that, to my knowledge, it is available and legal in all 50 states. And there's some gray areas, but listen, if somebody ever came out and got in trouble for this, it would be nationwide news. So it's legal in all 50 states. That's how everybody promotes it. That is the best of my knowledge. If anybody else knows anything different, let me know. But I've seen that, and that's my understanding. So, so that was the big one. Sleep is a great one. And a lot of people have trouble sleeping at night. And a lot of people, the anxiety of the day just sort of gets to them, and they can't calm down. So let's talk about anxiety for a second, because published in the Institute of Health, the National Institute of Health, on their website, they've got an article from a journal called Neurotherapeutics that there's preclinical evidence suggesting that CBD is a treatment for generalized anxiety disorders, panic disorder, social anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder when administered acutely, meaning it works right away.
So I need it every time I hang out with you. I need to take this for post-traumatic stress.
If you need to calm down. The most interesting study that I found, and I'll send it to everybody. Just give me the word either on Facebook or Dr. Chris Kammer, Dr. Chris Kammer at Yahoo, is that they tested it on people. What's the most stressful situation you could possibly imagine? Most people would say
going to the dentist.
Well, going to the dentist. That's an obvious one. Thanks, Dee Dee. And public speaking. Right? So they tested it on people unbeknownst to them, and everybody reported they were calmer, more focused, and able to enter the public speaking arena at that moment with one single dose. So that is amazing. Now, that's a study. Now, if you don't believe me, I'll send you that study, folks.
Well, Chris, we know you're full of research. So, I have some other questions too. As far as, from this part, I've got two big questions for you that I want to know. Number one, obviously, because of your child, you've done I imagine, and I know you behind the scenes when you're not out lively, you are just doing a ton of research. And I know you've researched this well, but, I will tell you, since, I've even posted up on my Facebook feed about CBD oil and this whole thing, I'm getting constant flow of Facebook targeted ads trying to sell me CBD oil and hemp oil from numerous sources. There's probably 10 different companies now on my Facebook feed trying to sell me hemp oil or CBD oil. And, obviously, yeah, I know. Welcome to Facebook world. Anyway, so I know you talk about the water solubility, and that's wonderful. But I mean, there's a bunch of people marketing this stuff right now as far as that goes. And it's just like me going in the health food store. And, you've been in some of these lectures too before. Vitamin C is not vitamin C. There's no quality control on it. You could get vitamin C at Walgreens and get one from CVS, but they might even be different, compounds.
Right.
Stuff like that. So, you want to trust a reliable source to get it from, and like I said, I know you've done that research.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something, this is kind of a new area, but what has impressed me are the companies that actually could put research in my hands, test the bioavailability, show me the study that says there is no THC in it, and there aren't any other harmful ingredients in it, because, no matter, it depends upon where you grow your hemp, it could be absorbing bad minerals from the ground. It could be taken up into the plant. So you want to know that the product safety is number one. So I've got from this company Zilise, I've got the research papers that show the all the elements, all the trace elements and minerals that are in this, all of the that there's no THC, the bioavailability of it. That's about as much as I can get. And they're intent on becoming the gold standard of CBD. And as far as I know, they're the only company that's making a water soluble. Now there's probably another one out there, and there'll probably be more coming. But why did they make vitamins into a water soluble form? Where you could, so it would get better body absorption. If you're going to be paying $100 a month for CBD oil, why not use something that's got the best bioavailability to it? It just all makes sense to me. So
here's another clinical question to throw at you, man. And this will be your cup of tea too. Obviously, we're dealing with something, and you're bringing this into the dental world. Specifically, clinically, what are some of the things I can utilize this on? I've already heard about a single dose on an extremely fearful patient, and also me, I'm going further, man. I could throw them on some nitrous with this stuff and really reduce their anxiety. That's one use. Obviously, there's other factors, that I can utilize it for in my practice. What about inflammation? I mean, man, you are like Mr. Inflammation and the whole oral systemic stuff. Are there studies that show that this could potentially help with oral systemic stuff?
Right, absolutely. And even in the oral systemic world, my own personal motto there is, I want to save your life with oral systemic knowledge, so you can go out and save other people's lives. And so in the same way, I want to make sure that so when we talk about all this CBD, I'm most interested actually in people that hear this, experience it personally or with their family members or whatever, so they can actually walk the talk if they're recommending it for somebody. So just keep that in mind. But in the dental office, or anti-inflammatory, that's at the core of oral systemic health. The bodies are in fire with inflammation. And so so anything that's going to be anti-inflammatory is a good thing. Now, because CBD and medical marijuana, because there was a war on drugs at one point in time, they really couldn't study it. And so all the research on it has been stunted. It's like we're just picking up on it now. And one major study that was started at Johns Hopkins, which was going to be hugely beneficial to the whole topic, was shut down after 2 years because they were forced to use government-grown CBD, and they said that it wasn't as effective, and that it was tainted or it was molded. There was an issue, and they shut the whole program down. Wow. So there's just a lot of stigma, a lot of issues in this whole topic. But so there aren't a whole lot of studies. But I would like to point out that the National Institute of Health has been posting a lot of journal articles and showing some support there. One of the ones that I liked on anti-inflammatory ability of CBD was written up in the Journal of Future Medicinal Chemistry, and it's posted on the National Institute of Health website. And basically, they say that that CBD can constitute a potent treatment modality against inflammatory disorders. Now, that's just one. Wow. That's just one area, but you get the feeling that there's more, and I can send them to people if they like. But I like that because it's posted on the National Institute of Health website. It's from a medical journal, and they're excited about the potential. Let me tell you one other huge potential. The World Health Organization it was put upon them to kind of, I think it was sort of like, listen, if people are going to be taking CBD, we got to make sure it's not harmful in any way.
Right.
And so they came out and said that it is not harmful in any way. And they made the rather bold statement that, well, actually, when trying to find out how bad it was, they sort of found out how good it was. But in November of 2017, once again, this is all brand new news. This is an emerging topic. It's so good to be talking about it. I felt so good bringing it to AOSH, where we are the leaders of oral systemic health, total body health, and not afraid of the taboos, because there's a lot of stigma around this. Okay, but I point to the World Health Organization, And the statement that they made after all their study was there are no public health problems attributable to CBD. That tells me there's absolutely no risk. That came out just a few months ago, brand new information. Now, in their efforts to maybe find something that was wrong with it.
So we've covered the safety. It's safe. This stuff is safe and it's got benefits. And so, that's my question to Dee Dee. Working in the dental field, as long as you have, what are you hearing, from the business side of things, how we can incorporate this into helping our patients out,
Well, anti-anxiety, of course, is number one. Pain control. The thing I want to talk about now is pain control, because we're in an opiate crisis. I mean, the country is besieged by opiate addiction, and we habitually prescribe opiates in our profession. I'm saying, and what's exciting, there's a company right now, Stella Life, that produces a homeopathic pain remedy, a system actually, and it's been getting amazing results with reduction of opioid prescriptions, reducing them by 2/3. Wow. So this is, now combine that. Now see, here's where we need to do some research, but you combine that with the pain reducing properties of CBD, and therapeutics and clinical risk management said that the future for cannabinoid therapeutics appears very bright. In other words, all these organizations are excited about it. So I'm saying, and I might be the first one to have said this, but I said, well, if Stella Life system works so well against pain in dentistry, what if you combine the benefits of CBD, the anti-inflammatory component, and the emetic component, and with all of the benefits of the Stella Life? So that's what I'm doing now, and we'll be doing more and more of that. But once again, we're kind of at the beginning of all this. But when you ask about how this can help you in the dental world, this is a major way. We got to get people off the opiates. We've got to be trying the Stella Life products, and we could be adding the CBD to that as well.
So, Chris, would you prescribe that? Like, if we're going to use it in the dental office, is that something you would prescribe like a pre-op, drink, or, put it under your tongue, prior, while you're given anesthetic? I mean, how would we use it in our dental office every day?
Right. Well, if you were to educate your patients on the CBD, you could use it once again for anti-anxiety. It does work with acute anti-anxiety. So you could give it to patients, and I have delivered this to patients. You can use it as an anti-anxiety before a dental appointment. You can also use it as a more calming and pain control element of following a dental appointment. But that would be two of the ways you could use it right there in the dental office. But I almost think we're almost short-sighting it a little bit if we just say, it's almost like, dentists are about, cavities and teeth and gum disease, but then sometimes we forget about the whole body. Right. And there's a benefit to, you could have an endocannabinoid deficiency that could be leading to disease. So even a daily dose of the CBD would be something that you could even consider for your own health. But the cannabinoids, they suppress.
I see online, Mark Montgomery's asking, is there any liability risk in using this in your practice? Like, is your license in jeopardy? Is this something we need to, talk with state boards? I know that, across the board, it's different in every state.
Our dental license, correct me if I'm wrong, but our dental license allows us to use whatever is available in the best interest of our patients. Okay? This is a legal medicinal that is available. Like I can go down the street and get it at the vitamin shop right now. I can get a CBD oil. It's at every vitamin shop that's out there. It's so legal, you might even find gas stations selling it. I don't know. I'm just saying.
So kind of like all the essential oil parties, this could be one of those that we incorporate in that. I mean, there's such a push for that across the board.
Yes. I mean, here, I don't know. I don't know if you can read. The cameras usually sort of backwards mask this or something, but this is on the cover of USA Today. This came out like April 20th. Okay, so just a couple weeks ago. Industry, the hemp and marijuana industry growing like weeds. What I'm saying is mainstream media are putting out, journals like this, medical marijuana. It's going mainstream. In other words, but it's been stifled. It's been stifled by, there'll be in fact, the general marketplace is more in tune with the benefits of medical marijuana and CBD than the medical and dental world, than the professionals in the medical and dental world. Because they're always complaining like, oh, I don't know if there's enough evidence, or I don't know if I can recommend it. And it's like, well, all right. So they're looking for scientific evidence. Well, we're kind of at the forefront of that. It's sort of like when I started using ozone. It's like, where's all the information about ozone? You know it works. You've experienced it works. I'll stand behind it that it works. I use it myself. If someone was to call me and I say, look, I take it every day. Here's the benefits I've received. Here's all the studies I've done. Here's my pile of studies. You want to look at that? I'm acting in the best interest of my patients, and we have a license from the state and the government to be able to do that. So that would be my answer to that question. But that's a great question. Here's the flip side of all of this is, it's like you could say, people might complain about, not enough evidence or the research isn't quite in, and I don't know if I can recommend it. But I'll tell you what, there's even less scientific evidence for sticking your head in the sand.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Supervised neglect. We've heard about that for years, right?
There are good things. There are great things out there. There's amazing things out there, like ozone, like, working on oral systemics for total body health.
Cold lasers.
All of this lumped together. I mean, the proactive, the progressive dentist, the one who loves being a dentist for what they bring to the world, is going to embrace this. They should embrace it themselves first. Let it help your own life. Let it, just like oral systemics can save your own life before you go out and save the lives of your patients.
Well, Chris, that's why I wanted to get you on, man. The whole 10X Dental site is about progressive dentists who've been there and done that and had lots of major success. And most of us have a whole lot of continuing education hours, and things like that. So I wanted to, this is something new, and to be able to put it on this group first and just do some minor education on how this could really help, our practices and really, better yet, our patients. Just continue to be at the forefront of dentistry and, mainly educating all these thought leaders that are on here about all this stuff. And I appreciate it. My question is for you. I know you were talking about you having a webinar. There's going to be a lot of people watch this. We're on a Friday, so live views are always, low. But then towards the afternoon and this weekend, this is going to get hundreds, if not thousands of views. Right. And I know you've got, some stuff coming up. What about guys who are like, man, I hear you, Chris. I want to learn about this a little more detail. I want to arm myself so I can be better educated. So when somebody calls me out, oh yeah, that's that doctor down the street, dispensing marijuana over there. I want to have the research behind me to be able to have an intelligent conversation with people. Where am I going to get this info? Where am I going to get the research? How can I dive into this?
That's a great point, Greg. So when I will present my full presentation and with all the studies and plus everything that I've got, because I believe this is so important, everybody that's listening to this can have it. It's not like I want to, hoard it and say I'm the only one with this knowledge. It's like, to me, if it's this important, everybody needs to know it. And if we're going to change the profession, then we've got to get it out there. There's a lot of stigma about this, and there's a lot of misunderstanding or just plain no understanding at all. And one of the problems that I had with when my daughter was being treated at Emory with medical marijuana here in the University of Wisconsin, where they've just built this big multi-million-dollar GI clinical facility, they were making her feel bad for being treated with medical marijuana, because it's not legal in Wisconsin. So they made her feel bad. Mm-hmm. And I want to just go to
a whole lot of judgment going on.
Crazy judgment. So, Greg, Didi, you got to be fearless. You got to believe in something. Like, you can always hide behind, well, there's not enough research. Okay, well, then test yourself. The World Health Organization says it's safe. You got to get out there. You got to be using it. It's a benefit to patients. And here's the other thing. We overprescribe the opiates. So why not be looking at Stella Life and be looking at adding the CBD concoction for that, the CBD, the Ultracell product. The company, Zalise, makes all kinds of endocannabinoid responding products, And another one that they make for those that need even extra help sleeping is called Dream, which is puts a little melatonin in combination with the endocannabinoid receptor action. And so that's very, very effective as well. So
Chris, you said that there were five benefits. We have only heard about one with sleep. So give me some more.
Okay, so I'm going to just quick run through the when the World Health Organization tried to, when all the companies tried to, when the government tried to shut down marijuana, they wanted to find out how bad it was. I'm going to make it real quick. They found out how good it was.
Right.
And then they learned about the endocannabinoid system, that where the CBD and the THC impacts the body. And so the World Health Organization came out and basically they said that, when there's no problem with it, but here's the other things that we found where there might be therapeutic benefits. Like this is what they found. They said Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease. There have been great anecdotal reports of those with Parkinson's disease getting their disease under control or much improved. Multiple sclerosis, Huntington's disease, hypoxia, ischemia injury, pain we talked about, psychosis, anxiety, depression, cancer, nausea, inflammatory diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, infection, inflammatory bowel and Crohn's disease, cardiovascular disease. They found that you can reduce the damage from a cardiac infarct by 50% with immediate use of CBD. This is good. The CBD will be available in every emergency room in the country very, very soon, and diabetic complications as well. So the amazing thing is that they learned all of these possible ways where it could be beneficial. And the more you look at it, when I run down that list, I'm thinking naturally, I go, oh, well, sounds like a magic bullet, Chris. That's too good to be true. Well, that's kind of what people are saying about it. So prove me wrong out there, anybody, if you want. Go do the research. It is amazing. Now, it's not a magic bullet for anything, and everybody responds a little bit differently. But Dee Dee, when you said what were the 5 things, I said the 5 primary things that I've experienced. Anxiety. Helps you with anxiety. And once again, National Institute of Health put it on their website. It's how it's a treatment for generalized anxiety, panic disorder, social anxiety disorder. I mean, you name it. Okay. Sleep. We talked about sleep. A lot of issues people have with sleep. There's even a study where using CBD makes it improves the sleep apnea. Okay, so these are things that are coming out. I have that study, and I'll send it to you. Pain. We talked about pain. Once again, Therapeutics and Clinical Risk Management Journal said the future cannabinoid therapeutics appears that future appears very bright, very exciting. Treatment for addiction. We have an opiate crisis in the United States right now, and it's for the first time ever. The average life of the men and women is coming down because so many people are dying in this opioid crisis, and they're using it to prevent relapse of opioids. They're using it to treat people under the grips of opioid addiction. And then anti-inflammatory, once again, the journal Future Medicinal Chemistry, basically, and it's posted on the National Institute of Health website, said that it looks like a very potent modality for treatment of inflammatory disorders. So those are the main things, and that's and I've got more, but in a wonderful format like this. And Gregg, you're the first, and Dee Dee, you guys are the first to be bringing this out in this kind of a format. So I appreciate that. We're early, but we got to get the word out there. I hope we've whetted people's appetites for this.
Well, Chris, this is a great platform, online like this, to get word out on some things. Obviously, Facebook won't let us go live long enough to get into some hardcore things without having breaks and all this other kind of stuff. But this is a good lead into learning more about this. And definitely, I know you're going to go into a detailed webinar about all this. I think you've already told me something like that. So when you do it, I want you to post it up. My big question is, and we've talked about this, and y'all can call me out because it's part of my story. But I was addicted to opiates after a broken neck, and I know how easy it is, and I know we have an opiate crisis going on, and things like this. But as someone that was addicted to something and understands withdrawals, better than anybody, my big question with CBD oil is this, man, you're affecting this endocannabinoid system, right? So, you know, you're taking this stuff every day as a supplement. I mean, okay, let's cut this stuff out. I mean, is there any problems just stopping this stuff, or is it just like stopping your vitamins? I mean, are you going to have any ill effects from this stuff after you've been on it for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks?
Great question.
That's a great question, Greg. And one of the quotes I saw on the with some of the research posted on the National Institute of Health is that they don't know the long-term effects of being regularly on CBD. So that is an unknown at this point.
Gotcha.
The best I can tell you is what the World Health Organization said, that so far there's nothing bad that they can find about it. There's no ill effects for using it. So whether you use it intermittently, acutely for the, you know, like I've got to give a big speech or something, and
Right.
I use some, once again, the absorption, you know, under the tongue, you're going to get your maximum absorption in about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. So you might want to give yourself, but it'll start under the tongue. It'll start getting in there in 15 minutes and start rising till it reaches its peak. And then it stays in your body at peak levels for 12 hours, possibly more.
Wow.
Well, there's so much to talk about this. It's so exciting. I
can tell.
You know, we could go on and on.
Chris, you're always excited though. Like this is who you are. And I love that you're leading the cause, because it's, you know, dentists across the country want to be able to deliver the best that they have to offer. And the only way to do that is to, you know, take a risk and step out there and, you know, put yourself out there. And it's awesome.
I appreciate you saying that, Dee Dee. And just like Greg acknowledged and that he had been, you know, addicted to opioids, and that's very courageous, Greg, and that's going to help a lot of people. And I love you, man, and you know it. but I think that's awesome, because sometimes we're as sick as our secrets, and we have everything we've been through is so beneficial to so many people. We got to tell our stories. Well, this is a part of my story, and that's all I'm really doing is telling my story.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter went through hell. I learned about what's, you know, the Sanjay Gupta, how he became a medical cannabis advocate. I have my own personal story. I've tried all of these products. I can speak from experience. Will my experience be exactly the same for someone else? Maybe not. You know what? We all have different systems, but I can speak from experience and advocate on how it's done for me and hope it would help someone else similarly. And I've got all these.
I love your passion about this. I mean, you always get passionate about stuff, as do I, you know, especially when it comes to something new to help people out with and stuff like that. It's really a pleasure to have you on, you know, but I mean, to me, and I mean, I hear much, and your family is so important with you. And I know that's what drive CBD oil, because you've had personal experience with it, and any of us have had personal experience with, you know, where we look at it from a different lens, you know, especially when it deeply affects us emotionally. And because of that, you know, I'm thrilled. We gotta cut it back though, and we've been going nonstop. I know between the three of us, we could talk for another 3 hours, because we all really love to talk. Having Dee Dee on as my co-host has been amazing. Dee Dee and I are going to co-host several more of these coming up soon, with some hot topics in dentistry coming up. You know, we're going to try to do these things regularly, at least once a week. So if there's a topic that you really want to know more about, you know, we have a lot of lurkers in 10X Dental, and mainly because, you know, they're successful practitioners that don't have the time to be on Facebook. But when they do get on and log on, you know, I get hundreds of personal messages that are in there. It's just such a great group of people on here. And we've got a lot of older guys, and we've got, you know, a new, young, strong group of millennials coming up that this is the way they like to get their information. So I appreciate it, Chris, very much. Any last words, Dee Dee?
You know, I'm so happy to be able to be a part of this, and being able to feature you, Chris, in leading the cause and making a difference in our profession, like really taking it to a new level. And I know that, the three of us, that's what our careers have been about, is making a difference and really taking care of people in the big picture. So I'm happy to be here.
Good.
Hey,
Last words, Chris.
I appreciate the opportunity to share. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, you can reach me on Facebook. I'm on the 10X site. It's also Chris Kammer on Facebook. Or if you want to email me, it's Dr. Chris Kammer at Yahoo. So it's DrChrisKammer at Yahoo. And cool thing, Greg and Dee Dee, I love you guys. You're awesome. And I am getting I got to go towel down now. A little.
All right, man.
You need hair and makeup to come take care of you again?
I do. I need a little more product in here.
All right, guys. Well, look, I appreciate it. We'll look forward to answering questions soon. I know we're going to have a lot of views later. Post up questions in the comments, and Dee Dee, Chris, or I will get to them as the stream's going. And we look forward to seeing y'all either next week or the next for the next Facebook Live. And y'all be hearing about who I've got coming up next as a guest with me and Dee Dee. All right, guys. Talk to y'all soon.
Thank you. You guys are awesome. Woo!
Peace out. See ya.